Bonsoir à tous. Bienvenue à les Jeux olympiques, jour 9, je pense. Welcome to everyone who is on the line. It is day 9 of the Sales Olympics. It is our first night episode, so sorry that we had to shove the time. So I was going to the real Olympics, the much more fun Olympics. I went to go see Simone Biles and gymnastics, and I saw the basically the vault and floor exercises for men. So it was pretty interesting. So thank you to everyone who is joining us late at night. We are going to keep this 1 to 30 minutes because I have an Olympics party that I forgot about selfishly that I have to get to right after this. But this is going to be day 9 where we are going to go into the 3 steps to a discovery call where you can come up with things, find things, diagnose things, will make your buyer actually want to continue on in the conversation with you. So before I go into that, if everyone who is on watching this live, if you could come into the chat, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're coming from. One of your favorite discovery questions might be a fun exercise, but we're going to go ahead and jump in here. So I'm not late for the buzzers and I'm not late for our Olympics party. So we're going to go into lap number 1. And lap number 1 is going to be step 1 of discovery. So there's essentially 3 steps to discovery, at least in my opinion. And step 1 is you're going to come up with, you're going to diagnose or surface their self-diagnosis. So the self-diagnosis of your prospect is going to be what they believe to be their current state and why do they believe that. So we're going to go into in a little while in this episode and one of the latter episodes, basically why you want to come up with why they believe that. So when you can, when you're going into their misassumption, you can essentially find out the fact that supports it. But this step is all about finding out why they believe what they believe and the definition of what they believe. So there's a lot of different parts to this, and people will lead in usually a certain way. They're typically going to come in and they're going to say, they'll lead with solution. I need cold email training for my SDRs, for instance. And the things that I'm looking for are going to be the following. What is the business problem that they're trying to solve? What is the tactical problem that they're trying to solve? What is the root cause that they're trying to change? Why do they believe this is a business problem? Why do they believe this is a tactical problem? And why do they believe this is the root cause? What is the fact that supports it? So those are the first 3 parts. And so just as kind of a reminder, the lagging indicator is the business problem. So if it's IT director, let's say it's server uptime. And so I need to find out where they are now and where they want to change it to. Meaning what's the internal goal? So if I'm a HR leader, it's going to be employee churn or employee retention. So the business problem would be what is the internal goal of retaining employees and where are they currently at in terms of employee retention? The tactical problems are according to the leading indicators. And the leading indicators are the performance-based metrics that are the non-final metrics, essentially. So what people use these to do is to see if they believe that they're going to hit their lagging indicator. And if not, diagnose which leading indicator they need to change and by how much and in what way. And once they've changed it, they look back to the leading indicator to see if it's improved, if they've changed it in the right direction, and if they changed it enough to be able to hit their lagging indicator. So if we were going a football match, for instance, then the lagging indicator would be France wins the game against England, for instance. Par exemple. And the tactical problem would be the shots on goal. Let's say typically they only have 10 shots on goal, or they only have 3 shots on goal and they think that they need 7. And then the root cause is the leading indicator that they need to change. So let's say that they are in a 4-4-2 right now, and they think that they should they should start with a 4-3-3. So the root cause, tactical problem, and business problem. The first thing you want to think about: what does your prospect believe, and why do they believe that this is what they want to change. The second group is going to be the impacts that they've self-diagnosed or self-prognosed. So an impact, the difference between an impact and a business problem is a business problem is the delta between where they are currently with their lagging indicator and what is the goal internally. The impact is what happens to them because of that business problem. So a current impact could be, let's say, I'm only 3 meetings to 10. And because of that, for an SDR, for instance, and because of that, I have currently been put on a PIP. Or from a personal perspective, I'm only 3 meetings to 10, and because of that, I can't pay my bills. That's a current impact. The future impact is what happens to them if this business problem doesn't change. So they're prognosing in this case. So, if I am 3 meetings to 10 and I stay in that way, I believe that not only am I on a PIP now, but I'm going to get let go in the future. So those are the other two pieces. Keep in mind, your prospect won't necessarily have all of these, but they'll have some assortment of them. So current persona impact, current horizontal impact, how does this business problem affect the teams lateral to me, and current vertical impact, how does this affect my leaders? And then roll that forward to the future. What do they believe is going to happen in the future? So the only thing that a prospect can't be wrong about, so you've got business problem, tactical problem, root cause, current persona impact, current horizontal impact, current vertical impact, future horizontal impact, future vertical impact, future persona impact. Out of all of those, the only thing that your prospect can't be wrong about is that they want to solve a driving impact. So whichever one of those is the impact that they want to avoid, that's the only thing that they can't be wrong about. Now, they can be wrong that you can't achieve it, or you can't avoid it. But the rest of the things they could hypothetically be wrong about. So the last two items here that I'm going to find out what my prospect believes is what is the current event trigger or future event trigger that mobilize them to want to purchase. So the current event trigger is the last event that happened that made the problem worth solving. And a future event trigger, on the other hand, is the event that's going to happen in the future that's causing them to solve for it today. So let's say I went and bought a remote control. And the reason was because the Olympics was going to happen. The Olympics was a future event that was going to occur. So I was solving for it now by buying a remote because I couldn't get local TV channels. So in summary, in this first step, you're going to find out for what items does prospect have, what do they believe the business problem is, tactical problem is, root causes, current persona, horizontal and vertical impact, future persona, vertical and horizontal impact, and what is the future event trigger or current event trigger that was the last thing that triggered them to want to buy and why they believe that. That is lap one. Man, it is a technical session, especially for a Saturday night. Y'all's are uptight. It's Saturday. What's going on, Jay? Jay's up in here representing Chicago. I sat next to a gentleman who was in Michigan. He said he's from Michigan. And we're going to be completely honest. When I almost mentioned Chicago, I was like, oh, I've gone to Chicago quite a bit. And then I was like, wait, I don't think Chicago's in Michigan. And I paused just long enough to look it up. But I definitely know where Chicago is now. It's in Illinois. Anywho, Jay, it's good to see you. Robert, good to see you too. He's coming in from Spokane, Washington. I hope y'all are watching the Olympics. You really need to watch the Olympics. So, okay, we're going to go into lap two. So lap one was find out what they believe and why they believe it. Lap two, which is the most important lap, is what do you believe as the expert? This is where you can add value. So a doctor is coming in and all they're trying to do is diagnose what is true in the current state and what is true in the future state. based on what they believe and what they know, the information that they gather. Now, the reason they have to go through this process with the prospect is because a lot of times what the prospect thinks is going to be wrong. So the doctor has to come in, and you, as a sales rep, have to come in, and you need to ascertain a number of different things. Where are they at? Where are they behind industry average? And what variables are causing a problem or will happen to them that are negative, that they already know about, that are confirmed to be true? And what things do they not know about? So I'll give you some instances for questions, and we're going to go in really deep on questions in one of the latter sessions. But to find a business problem, there's Leon Marchand. He's the GOAT. If you want to see a really, really interesting, a really fun, heartwarming dynamic, Leon Marchand, that's him. He's breaking all kinds of records, Olympic records, Michael Phelps's records in specific. And Michael Phelps is cheering him on to do it. And President Macron, both of them. It's a really nice relationship they have. Anywho, so to go after a business problem, for instance, if I want to find it, what I believe it is, then the questions that I need to ask are all around the buyer persona's lagging indicator. So if it's an HR persona, I'm like, what's your employee retention? What's your goal of your employee retention internally? And voila, I have the business problem. For the tactical problems, all I need to find out are what are the leading indicators or the non-performance-based indicators that help a prospect within this role usually diagnose or predict whether they're going to hit their lagging indicator. And if not, diagnose which leading indicator they need to change it by how much. So for SDRs, for instance, lagging indicator is SQLs. So the questions I need to find the business problem, it's going to be, what's your SQL goal internally? What is an SQL based on? Like what criteria? What is the no-show rate and acceptance rate? And what is, where are you currently at across the team? To find tactical problems, I need to ask about their leading indicators. So I'm like, what's your open rate? What's your reply rate? How many calls? What's your call connect rate? What's your no-show rate from meeting booked to meeting who showed up? Or meeting who showed up to meeting declined? And what were the reasons behind decline? So if they tell me, for instance, that their open rate is a 20%, I'm like, got it. I found an email to look for a billing problem. We're going to go into this in step 3. But to ask the questions to find those, then I'm going to ask for a tactical problem. I'm going to ask about leading indicators. To find the root cause, I just need to ask about the volumes or totals or definitions for their leading indicators. So for instance, for SDRs, email quality, quantity, time of day that they're sending them, who are they sending them to? So I would ask questions like, how many emails are you sending? How many cold calls are you making? What time of day on average are they making them? Can you show me an example of your email? What's the buyer persona that you're selling into? What's the level of persona that's accepted? So that will help me diagnose all that information. Do you see that creepy door? There's a ghost. There's a sales ghost because we started late. Then I told you this would bite us. So those are the leading indicator questions that I would ask. For impact questions, I would be asking about what are the horizontal departments that are affected because of my business problem, or my vertical leaders, what are their lagging indicators? So for instance, if it's SDR, the team who would be affected by that is going to be the sales team. So I'd be like, if you don't mind me asking, Min got scared. Min, we have to stay on time. I can't be late to this party. I can't be late. Keep me on topic, y'all. There is no ghost. I think it's really late. I think it's haunted. So they're so sick of I think these ghosts are so sick of hearing about sales. My neighbor at one point said, Becc, I have a question for you. What is KPI? Because you seem so mad about KPI. It's like, never mind. Man, this thing is off the rails. I'm going to go back in. So for the impacts questions, I asked for horizontal teams. I'm like, what's the AE's quota? Where are they at currently? What is for vertical to me would be CROs. So I'm like, what's the revenue quota? Where are we currently? So when I'm asking all those questions, I'm trying to I'm trying to come up with, regardless of what the person believes, what is the true diagnosis of their current state. But just because they came in for pain around, let's say, a tactical problem of their reply rate is low, doesn't mean I can't diagnose other tactical problems that they didn't know about. So, for instance, one with open rate would be email deliverability. They came in because their reply rate is at 0.5%. Industry average is 0.5 to 0.7. They're like, my reply rate's garbage. I'm like, what is it? Who are you going to call Ghostbusters? Mari, you stay on topic. You know what? I'm gonna send your profiles to all my friends over there at the party and be like, it's Mari's fault. This is who you need to call. So, point being, I can find tactical problems or root causes that they didn't come in for. So when they come in, that's really the gate, meaning they're coming in for a certain level of pain. So in step one, I think the thing to call out here before we go into the difference, in step one, and then I'm going to, I think, throw in a wrench, a wrinkle that's going to blow everyone's mind. Next step, next lap. But in step one, I'm trying to figure out what they believe and why they believe it. And I'm going to get a certain amount of information in that's going to help me build my diagnosis. But whatever I'm missing, I need to fill in the gaps, because step two is I need to build what do I believe and why do I believe it, so I can come up with a firm diagnosis that's true today. Now I have two doors that are moving. I think we have two sales ghosts. Like, just so y'all know, by nature, I am a very scared human being. That's why I yell so loud. Like in San Francisco, I had 4 locks on my front door. 4, like 3, okay. So this does actually scare me. But I thought, I'll leave the doors open because, it's going to be nice tonight. It's starting to rain. Anywho, let's go into lap 3 so I don't have to blame a ruined evening and being 2 hours late on Mari. Let's go into lap 3. So lap 1 was figure out, diagnose what they believe and why they believe it. Lap 2 is, step 2 is diagnose what you believe. What do you believe is the business problem, the tactical problem, the root cause, current persona impact, current horizontal impact, current vertical impact, future horizontal, vertical, and persona impact, plus the current event triggers and the future event triggers that should make them want to change now, makes it worth it changing now. So the difference between those two is the value that you add. So there's only 2 buckets of things that you're after, really. Sometimes the patient's right. It's not often that they're completely right, but a lot of times the patient's right. If like they believe that this is a tactical problem, they believe that this is a root cause that they can change. But even when they were right, the doctor still needs to confirm with what they believe, right? And the risk of not doing that is because a lot of times they're incorrect. So the 2 things that I'm looking for when I'm making my own diagnosis is, and again, you'll get some of that data within step 1. So a good question that I start them off with is, can you tell me, I know that you requested a demo to talk about prospecting training or discovery training. Can you give me an that's all I know right now. And I know these couple things about your company. Can you walk me through what made you give me the time today? And it's called an overview question. The reason that I like questions like that is it gets them to launch and they just start talking at me. I saw that earlier. It gets them to start talking. And they'll give me a lot of data points. Half of them you might not use, but half of them you will. And the reason I like it is every question that you have, there's a price tag, right? There's a bigger price tag if you should have already known it. It's researchable. And it's even bigger price tag if it's a leading question and you should have already known it. So like, what would 15 to 25 qualified meetings per month, do for you? This is the weirdest episode of all time. Glad there are people here to watch it. So, Jay, Mari, Robert, whenever I'm killed on this episode, you're going to have to explain to everyone why. So, they might be right some of the time. And when I'm asking these questions, there's those types of questions, but there's two motions of questions. Either questions that they don't find anything additional about themselves, or questions that they do. So when I'm asking these questions, I'm trying to find the two different things in there. The first is a misdiagnosis, something that they believe that's not correct. And the second is a misdiagnosis, something that they missed entirely. And that is the difference between step 1 and 2. So sometimes they are right. They're right that the root cause is quality. But a lot of times they've missed that another huge root cause is email deliverability. Or sometimes they're right in the fact that they need to. I'll give you an example of a misdiagnosed business problem. Someone wanted to basically came in and he said, I want to book more meetings, every single month so I can send them over to my AE team. So I go through the math and I find out that basically he's already booking on outbound his entire team 25 SQLs per month on average, completely on outbound. So that's a big amount. So when I go into the diagnosis, I'm like, why do they? Sorry, I'm seeing all these stories about how y'all are going to report me in the news. We'll make the story epic. Don't worry, Becc, you're going to get killed this episode, but we'll make it look good online. I love online stories. Kidding. So he said, I was like, why do you want to go from 25 to 30? We can get there, but if you don't mind me asking, you mentioned the AE team. So what kind of increase were you looking to see there? How much are they booking per month? How much are they looking to book? And I find out that basically the AE team was at a 4% conversion and they were 75% behind quota. So I'm like, look, let's call him Dan. I was like, look, Dan, we can get you from 25 to 30 meetings a month, but that will not make up that delta. You're at a 4% conversion, which means you need it to send over 100 meetings to see 4 close. That alone, it should tell you that the math is off. So if you have 5 meetings per rep and you have 10 reps on your team, I think it was 15 reps on your team. Let's say that we do go into this process and we get you from 25 to 30. I'm like, so that's 5 times 15, which is 75. So you're going to send 75 meetings over to these AEs and they're going to close 3 of those deals. How much is the ASP? We calculated it out. And I'm like, if you sent those all over to 1 rep, it might get them to quota. But you have 17 account executives. So even if we solve this, it's not going to solve the driving impact. The driving impact that he was scared of is being let go. So I'm like, so even if we fix this, your VP of sales is still going to be in the thing that needs to be changed is discovery. They're only converting 4%, right? So I refused to sell to him in that moment. We're still friends to this day. Started working with some of the AEs, but that's an example of, I'm looking for those two things. What's a misdiagnosis? Something that they believe that's not true that will hurt them if they execute on it. Because I knew there was a price tag to him. He buys me. He's on the line for credibility perspective that this should fix the AEs fully hitting quota now. But the second item is a misdiagnosis, something they missed entirely. And that is the goal of diagnosing what they believe and why they believe it and what you believe and what the difference is. There you go. That's lap 3. Mentor numéro 4, s'il vous plaît. Tout de suite. Lap number 4. Becc becomes French Becc at night. I hear it. So I have there's a couple, little old couple that's my neighbors, and they're modern dancers, Philippe and Paola. And so I leave my windows open a lot. And I apparently, this is what they tell me, that So I speak French to myself sometimes in my part when I'm walking around to practice, but I get very like textbook French, like like that kind of French, right? And like we hear you over there just making stuff up. They're like, it gets wild at night. Fun fact, Charles Dickens actually did the same thing. He would act out his characters in a mirror. I saw the mirror at one point. Anywho, lap 4. This is unknown problems. So if I were you and you're watching this and you're thinking, how do I find unknown problems? So the first thing that I would do is Google what your buyer is metriced on. The second thing that I would do, like meaning what are the leading, leading, and lagging indicators? The second thing that I would do is I would look up what are the industry averages for those metrics. So for instance, if I'm a CFO, then it's gross profit margin. I look at what's the average gross profit margin. The third thing that I do is I would look up at what point do those typically cause a problem. So let's say like if you're going after losing weight loss, that's what you're solving for. Then I would see at what point does calories typically cause a problem. So anything over 3,000, you're typically going to cause a weight gain issue. And the fourth is if you just make yourself astute in that, then you're going to be able to find some unknown problems. So email deliverability, by way of example, is actually a very commonly known problem, meaning a lot of people know about it, but the average person within the role doesn't know about it, right? So this lap 3, in summary, step 1 is finding out what they believe and why they believe it. Step 2 is either verifying or unverifying of like what they believe is true. And here's a couple other things that are attached to this business problem. This third lap is while they're in, you're taking their blood pressure and you're running some tests to figure out actually they have this weird condition, that we want to do more diagnosis on. So email deliverability is a great example for BDRs of like people don't realize, that only 59% of the emails are going to the inbox. Another really common one for me is demo requests. Only 9% on average of people who request a demo are actually getting a demo at first call with an AE. 9%. Lowest I've seen is 4. Highest I've seen is 22.5. So I rush in there and I get to the answer of what is that demo request conversion. So you can either do one of two things to size up an unknown problem. You can either see what the final value is, like I can ask them about that value, or I can ask root causes of it. So for instance, do you round robin your leads for demo request? Do you, what happens if you request a demo on the weekend? Like right now, does someone wait until Monday to follow up with them? Another one is time of day. Mari's coming in. Who's swimming? I think that it's Marshawn. I think Marshawn's swimming right now. I'm missing it because of Mari. Just kidding. So another one is the time of day that people send emails. They typically send them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that's the worst time of day to send them. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. is going to be the best time of day from a conversion perspective, book meetings perspective, open rate, reply rate, etc. Another one that's very commonly unknown is no-show rates. So it hovers around 17 to 18% on average. It's around 10% over email, but it's double over cold call. Is that Marshawn? No. Double over cold call. So, and it hovers around 17 or 18%. It's immaterial in terms of Monday, Tuesday, which day of the week, in terms of what causes no-shows. But the biggest contributor to a no-show is going to be whether you schedule the meeting in the morning or in the afternoon. So afternoon is going to about 2 or 3x your retention, basically. So they're 2 or 3x more likely to no-show you if you schedule that meeting in the morning. So I think the best course of action to prepare for this third step, keep in mind, this is the value step. When you find these things, misdiagnosis, the more that you find and the more accurate you are and the bigger that gap whenever you find those, the more value that you've added, whether you solve for them or not. So that's the fun thing. It doesn't have to be just the things that you solve for. It doesn't have to be just the things you affect. It can be anything within their role. So yes, someone specializes within medicine, but they're a general doctor. Sorry, I still keep looking. Y'all have to watch Leon Marchand. He's incredible. But that's still going to help them in terms of value. So I think the best course of action is if you just start to study your buyer, you know, what are the statistics? What are the industry averages, you know, of, let's say, for a person, height, weight, cholesterol, heartbeats per minute, right? Like average age that they live to, how do demographics affect that? So when you have a new buyer, I would just learn as much as you can about them. What are they metriced on? What's the industry averages? And at what point do they normally cause a problem? So specifically around those unknowns, I would be surprised if anyone could tell me what the average BMI is for an adult, their height right now in the chat. Probably not, because it's just an unknown. So if you live, breathe, eat, and die there, that's where I would ask the questions to uncover the things that they have missed entirely so that you can provide that information to them, whether they work with you or not. So they have value, whether they go forward or not and buy anything. This has been the most wild episode. I've had a lot of fun. Mari, Jay, Robert, everyone. It's been a fun episode. It's starting to rain out in Paris. I hope that y'all are watching the Olympics. It's an incredible last couple of days of the Olympics. Go watch Leon Marchand. He's amazing. Thank you for all of the questions back and forth in the chat, and for joining me during the middle of your Saturday. So I'm going to sign off now, just so I don't get in more trouble for being even later to this party than I already am. But thank you so much for showing up today, and tune in tomorrow. We have a spicy one tomorrow. It's going to be at 3:00 Paris time. Why you can't, shouldn't, and shouldn't want to get multiple buyers to agree on the problem that they want to solve. Why, when you have multiple buyers in the buyer persona buying committee, oh, there they are already. Buyer persona buying committee, I'll put them on silent. Buyer persona buying committee, that every time they have it, you have a different buyer persona, you have different metrics that they're after and different things that they care about. So why getting them to agree on the problem that they solve is likely not going to happen, but not even a good idea, even if you could get them there. So tune in tomorrow, 3:00 CET. Thank you very much, Robert. He said, enjoy the party. I'm so glad I caught you. I got to chat back and forth with you. Thank you for giving me some time on your Saturday. So really enjoyed it. Okay, I'm going to say au revoir for now, so I don't get killed by the sales ghosts. So as always, I'm going to want to be French and cheesy and say à demain, merci pour tout, et au revoir pour maintenant. Bye.